How does a company survive and even thrive after the untimely passing of its founder? Sri Kumar, the president and CEO of Connico, faced this very issue when Connie Gowder, the founder of the company, passed away suddenly. Sri was already in the company, but ascended to the role of president and CEO and is now building on the legacy that Connie Gowder left behind and also taking the company to new heights, focusing on building a quality workforce of professionals providing great customer service to clients across the country. Sri also discusses his use of technology and how the company is building on and using technology to grow to greater heights, and also how he's navigating the current challenges with the DBE program and other programs to support diverse businesses across the country. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Shelton Russell. I'm the publisher of American DBE Magazine and the host of the P3 Project for Diverse Entrepreneurs podcast. We enjoyed talking with Sri today, and he's sharing with us some of his business insights in this video. Also, we published a great story on Connico in the latest issue of American DBE Magazine. You can check that article out if you visit americandbe.com and click on the current issue. Enjoy my discussion with Sri. So great you could join us on the P3 Project today. Glad to have you with us. Let's start today by having you introduce yourself and tell us about Connico.
Yeah, definitely. Thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me. As for me, I got my degree in civil engineering and had kind of always known that I wanted to do something that was involved in public infrastructure, helping the public, and also that answered the questions about the world around me, which is what I found really fascinating about civil engineering, I guess. Went to college and did my civil engineering coursework, but I also made sure to do astronomy, oceanography, sociology, interpersonal communication, managerial accounting, business accounting, finance. Got to take a really diverse load of courses and got to see what was out in the world, which I was thankful for. Graduated from Michigan State University and got a phone call from a company saying that they had read my resume. They wanted to hire me. I told them I had never heard of them, and I hung up. They called me back a few more times, and eventually I ended up sitting down and doing an interview with them over Skype, which back in 2011 was kind of a new thing, video calls. The name of the company was Connico, and they hired me. I spent 10 years working in different airport markets, running field jobs on site, running major construction projects that are critical to the operation of the airport. I'll tell you a little bit about the story of Connico because this is where our two stories start to intersect. Connico was founded in 1990 by Connie Gowder. That's where we get our name, Connie Co. You had the pleasure of speaking with Connie. She actually was featured in this magazine in 2017. And Shelton, I don't know if you know this, but that was such a proud accomplishment for her that she had that article framed and posted in our office where it still hangs to this day in our conference room. So she was really, really proud of the success that she could generate over the years. When she first started, she kind of found this niche in infrastructure consulting, doing not your typical design, typical architecture, typical engineering, but cost estimating and scheduling, telling people how much does something cost or how long will it take, answering some of these tertiary questions. A few years after she founded the company, she brought on the company's first employee, Dave Hunley. And he launched a new service, which was on-site construction project management. And so for 35 years, those have been our core services. In the last 35 years, we've worked at now 396 airports across the country, and we're still a small firm. So we're really proud of what we were able to do and, everything that we were able to accomplish. We're really proud to build on Connie's legacy. Unfortunately, in 2021, after she was very suddenly diagnosed with cancer, she passed away. And this is really where our stories begin to intersect. She'd been training me to maybe one day sit in her seat. And it would have been nice to have another 50 or 60 years of training. But we did not have that luxury. And so we kind of made the decision, me, her longtime business partner, Dave, who I mentioned, and a another gentleman at our firm, Brian, our COO, to keep the company running and keep the doors open, because the other option was to pack everyone up and send them home. So we're really proud that we got to carry on her legacy and that we've been now doing this for 35 years all across the nation.
That's wonderful. It's great to hear about the article being framed in the office. I enjoyed doing that interview. And yeah, I knew Connico in one of my previous lives. I was at the Port Columbus Airport, which is now John Glenn International. And she was one of our certified firms and did a lot of work at Port Columbus. And this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So yes, company's been around for quite a while and been a DBE for a lot of those years. And so, yeah, glad to see that you've been able to keep it going and grow it for the company. So tell me, how has the firm evolved since you became the president and CEO? Did you just kind of keep to the core business, or how have you expanded and built on the legacy?
There are a few things, we did keep to the core of who we were, and that was really established by Connie. One of the unique things about our firm, almost all of our folks have a construction background. And so we kind of provide this key link between the ideation of an infrastructure project and its execution, when it actually becomes like a tangible building. So we've reframed a little bit the services we offer in terms of the fact that we don't just quote costs or quote durations on a schedule. We don't just go out and run a job. At the end of the day, we're problem solvers. And we've sort of rebranded ourselves to be able to offer a more extended package of services, you could call it, to clients who want answers, especially in these volatile times. So another thing that's different for us, Connie and I were at two different, stages in our life, you could call it. And just as a virtue of that, I'm able to have a much longer term outlook than she was really able to take. So we've been able to kind of bring the ability to look at the short term, but also look at the long-term sustainability of the company. One of the first things we did when I stepped into this seat was rewrite our core values and update our vision statement. And so since 2022, our vision statement does not reference cost. It doesn't reference schedule. It doesn't talk about spreadsheets or engineering or reports. It doesn't even talk about aviation, which is our bread and butter. Our vision statement is be the best place to work. We decided to make this a company that was all about people, and all the things about running a business would come secondary. This was really shocking to a lot of people who I worked with. This is shocking to our clients. This is shocking to our competitors and the industry, to say we're going to run a business that's just about how do people feel when they come to work, and everything else takes a backseat to that. What we've done is be able to focus on our people, focus on their well-being, focus on upskilling them, focus on their success, right? And so we've grown. In 2022, we were 13 employees, and now it's 3 years later, we're 35 employees. The number changes by the month, so I'm hoping that's accurate. So the start of April. We've nearly tripled in size. We've nearly tripled in revenue. There are only 3 states left in the entire nation where we've never worked. We've got employees in 11 states now. We're building on that foundation that Connie built while living into our values. And I think that speaks to kind of the final way I would say the company's evolved. In today's world, people want a more meaningful workplace. They don't want to show up and sit in a dark cubicle and turn out the paperwork. We're building Connico to be that place where people can love their work and love the contribution that they make to the world around them.
Thank you. Great answer. And that growth is amazing, to triple the size while you're still adding employees and making folks happy to work there. So that's good stuff. And so a lot going on, as we talked about before we came on the show, in our economy. Obviously, I looked at the markets yesterday and just taken a bloodbath. But hey, a long-term approach, right? So you got to have a long-term approach.
Over the next 2 weeks, maybe don't look at that.
Exactly. That said, how are you positioning the company right now in the midst of this dynamic, environment we're facing, challenges to the DVE program, and also legal challenges and now political challenges with the executive order that recently came out, about DEI and those types of programs. So anyway, and all this going on, how are you moving Connico through this period?
That's a great question. There's so much noise out in the world today, and I encourage people to really remember that just because they read something in the news doesn't mean it's a law. The world today, you use the economy, and I'll use that as an example. It used to be that the Federal Reserve Board would go into a meeting to make decisions about economic policy. They'd make some decisions, and a few days, weeks, or months later, the economy would respond. Now, someone reads a tweet, or whatever you call it now, that the Federal Reserve has gone into a meeting, and the economy responds. And so we're in this responsive, kind of information hungry, sitting on the edge of our seats era. And I'm trying to remind people to take a long-term outlook. So that is one of the things that we're doing, which you alluded to when you were, it's the long game.
Yeah.
Remembering that things can happen in the short term, but, and our clients echo this too. At the end of the day, people know what the right thing to do is. And I think that's going to win out in the long term. As I mentioned, we're kind of expanding our services rather than just a quote here, a report there, something of that nature. We're helping clients understand their projects better. What's the best order to do things in? What's the true impact of this, either on the community, maybe on the environment, maybe on their operations, which they're really concerned about, especially if you've ever been through a busy airport, you know how important just the slightest change is. We're helping clients prioritize. We're helping clients understand where can they, find the avenues to finance their projects. Where is the risk and how can they manage the risk and mitigate the risk? So we're broadening our services to be able to offer more comprehensive answers. And we're trying to encourage other firms to do that as well. If you offer one part of something for clients, see if you can offer them a broader solution. This helps gives them more answers, and it helps give the traveling public who uses their airports better service at the end of the day, right? We're also trying to keep our eye on aviation in general. We don't necessarily know, is consumer confidence going to remain? Are airlines going to continue to be profitable? And what does that mean for airports and the routes that people fly? And you read in the news today about pilot shortages and air traffic control and, some of these recent commercial aviation disasters, which are really not a thing that happens in the United States. And so trying to keep that eye on where is aviation headed. You did also kind of mention, the whole political game is trending towards uncertainty here. So framing ourselves as those problem solvers, framing ourselves as the people who do not have the answers, because I don't think anyone has the answers, but we have the research. We have the ability to ask the right questions, collect as much information as we can, and then help the client make those educated decisions. We're trying to make people further understand that while we want to be optimistic, we want to be realistic. And so we're trying to build a strong, resilient, helpful company, regardless of what is our status. And we want other companies to do that same thing, right? Be that strong advocate for your client, be the turn to go to, business for your customers. That's the thing that's going to get you to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. To that end, I was wondering, is your main client the airports or the owners, or is it the design or program management team, or is it the construction or all three? So take us through maybe one of your major projects. I saw where you're on the LAX project or Pittsburgh International, but just, describe where you fit into that equation and who your customer is, and then, drill down a little bit on those services for those of us who may not understand that aspect as well.
Definitely. And that's a fantastic question. You can tell that you came from the airport aviation world just by nature of the fact you're able to ask it. Our client is another engineer, architect, design firm, program management firm, et cetera, who is working for an owner. They're working for the airport. They're working sometimes for a municipality, because airports in our country are owned by different entities. We're generally a sub-consultant to one of those other firms. There are times that we work directly for a contractor. There are times we work directly for an airport or other municipality, sometimes a city government, a state government, things of that nature. Generally speaking, bulk of our business is in that sub-consultancy role, working for another consultant. What that means is we're able to provide a whole host of services. Maybe the consultant has a set of drawings that they've provided and they want us to go through it kind of with the mindset of a contractor. Look not just at what's on the page, but think about what might not be on the page that the contractor's still going to have to deal with in order to get the job built. Maybe our clients just have an idea. They sketched something on the back of a napkin and they want to know what might this cost or how long might it take. We have people who can take that napkin drawing and give them general answers. Maybe they want to understand they've got a project in the hopper that they're thinking, what parts and pieces should be included to get the most bang for their buck? What is the local market like? And what do we think the bid response will be if they do go try to build it? What are some things that would help decrease or increase the cost? And are there things that we might recommend or might be able to do to help them change those answers? Those are the kinds of questions that we kind of tackle. And we're really lucky to have a fantastic set of clientele who respect us not just because we've got the DBE status, but respect us because of the service we're able to bring to the table. And they very, very often give us that voice. They trust what we say. They rely on what we say, even if we don't, give them the answer that they want. They believe in our research and the quality of our work. So we're very, very thankful for our client base.
And it sounds like AI and all these new tools, Chat GPT or whatever, would have a major role in what you do. So talk about that, the use of AI in the industry as a whole and how Connico is maybe leveraging some of those tools to be more efficient or effective.
Yeah, AI, digitization, machine learning, these are the buzzwords of the day, and our industry is no different. Our industry has really always been about data, if you think about it. How many people are flying through the airports? How many aircraft are operating there on a regular basis? How many gates are needed? How long are certain flights? If you think from the airline perspective, what are the most profitable flights either between destinations, aircraft to fly? What is the most profitable time of day to fly certain routes? The whole industry is based on data, and AI is revolutionizing the way that we kind of collect and then examine that data. As a result, it's reshaping how we answer some of these questions. As we get more data at our fingertips, we're able to see a little more clearly what are the impacts of some of the things that we might recommend. But you kind of see airports are just like every other industry, right? They're trying to embrace AI to the absolute maximum. And if you could have a little AI bot that tells you, when exactly your bag is going to come out on the bag belt, every customer who flies would want that. So they're using artificial intelligence as much as they can to improve the efficiency of their operation, to improve customer service. So we at Connico, as a very data-centered firm, we're engaging with that shift. One thing that I continue to tell our people, though, will AI ever do the work that we do? Yes, AI will do some of the work that we do. Will AI ever take our jobs? Not at Connico. The link that we provide using our construction expertise, our judgment, our engineering or architecture or cost estimating or scheduling backgrounds is not replaceable by the things that a computer can do. The ability of a human to examine and assess risk, bring up things that are not in the data set, identify what's missing, foster discussion, these aren't things that are replicable by machine. Maybe someday long after I'm gone, they will be, but for now, artificial intelligence is a tool. It's not a replacement for our expertise. It's not a replacement for our critical thinking. And so we're going to embrace the tool while continuing to do what we do best.
Good stuff. So you talked about being the best place to work. How are you using that, again, along with what's going on with technology. The workforce is shifting rapidly. Folks are retiring or moving out, and so talent's hard to find. How are you attracting great talent and diverse talent to Connico?
The question we actually get asked a lot. We're very cognizant of the things that, kind of since the early 2000s have looked like a good workplace don't mean that you're making a good workplace. One of the stories I told previously, your employees aren't really looking for, pet a turtle day and extra cupcakes in the break room, right? These are things that can improve. And over the last 20 years or so, we've seen unlimited cafeteria passes and yoga rooms. And if you want to convert your desk chair into a hammock, go ahead. But the way that we're able to recruit the best of the best is not by giving people, more plants and better light fixtures. We let people know that they're valued, and we let people know that their work is valued. The people who we have that work here are among very literally the best in the entire world at what they do. And by us showing them that we have their best interest in mind, not just from a career perspective, but from a person perspective, we've been able to show them that support. And as a result, they turn around and they show the other members of their team that support. There are things that we do, whether it's flexibility in work schedule or having really solid onboarding and strong communication, encouraging people to spend time with their colleagues and fostering environments for building those relationships even outside of work. There are things that we do along, those routes. And when you're, racing go-karts with somebody and bumping them out of the way, after you get out of the go-kart, you do have a better relationship than before. When you got it. So we do offer some of those things to our employees, and we encourage them to pursue those things for their own wellness, their own well-being, their own strength of the team, and respect for one another. But our secret, I guess if you want to call it a secret, to hiring a diverse team is not metrics. We're not looking for XYZ. There's no policy about what we've got to do. We hire the absolute best person for the job every single time. And as a result, we've got 35 people. They speak more than a dozen languages. They were born in more than a dozen different countries. Our 35 folks have something like 20 different college majors across them. We don't have a unilateral piece that we look for to complete our puzzle. We look for someone who's going to add value to our organization and who's going to do the absolute best job possible.
Good. You mentioned your main client base are the maybe large engineering firms or program management firms. Have you seen yet any impacts? We talked earlier about what's going on legally and executive order and all that kind of stuff. Have you seen any impacts to your business as of yet? Any contracts being terminated or halted based on what's going on?
This time, we have not seen any action on any of these fronts. We see the potential for challenges on the horizon. One of the fascinating things is that every single client that we've been able to talk to about this has said, just so you know, our way of doing business remains unchanged. Our commitment to the things that matter and our commitment to doing the right thing is no different than it was in the past. So our clients in this industry are being incredibly supportive of the firms who they've relied on for many, many years to bring these specific, tailored niche services, to bring a level of customer service that maybe a larger firm can't quite bring, to bring local knowledge and expertise to the table. They're counting on us in the exact same way that they always have. And they're being, which I'm very thankful for, extremely clear about
stuff. Certainly the way you've grown the company and kept the core values that Connie created in the company. How do you reflect as a leader on thinking about what she would think about what's going on at Connico and how it's doing? I mean, I'm sure she would be proud, but how do you feel about that?
We think about that often. There are some things that we do where we say, Connie might not have enjoyed that. No, as I mentioned, she had a different timeline. And as a result, I've got a different risk tolerance. And so there are some decisions that we make that are not risky by any means, especially as a small firm in a highly regulated industry where we do work funded by the government. This is not a place for risky decision making. And we've got 35 people who they want to put food on the table. So we're not out there just calling shots because we feel like it. But the ability to dial up the risk and say, what if we tried this new, line of business because our people have the expertise, just the firm has never done it? Or what if we do work with a couple new clients or work at a couple new airports? We've been able to expand the book of work as a result. I don't know that Connie would be thrilled with how we did it, but we know that she would be thrilled with the results. And I think to have kept her reputation going, the reputation that she strived to build, I think if she had had the time, she would have built a company that looks very much like the one that we've built today. And so I think as a result, she'd be really pleased with what we've been able to do with her reputation, her legacy, and the company that she always wanted to build and the quality service that she always wanted to.
Nice. I just sit here reflecting. The last time I saw her, we were at a AMAC conference, and I'm trying to remember the city because after a number of years, they run together. But we were in the elevator and in the lobby. We must have been checking in because I just remember her around the front desk, and we were kind of chatting as we kind of moved through what we were trying to get done, check in or check out or something like that. But I certainly remember that and remember her. So tell me 5 years from now or where you're going with it or where you hope to be in 2030 and beyond.
One thing I always tell people when they're thinking about a job here is, what is my vision for the future? Help them understand that before they come on. What I tell people is, my business partners and I, we do not have a vision of this company trading on the New York Stock Exchange. This is not a business where we're going to, have some massive campus and there's going to be thousands of us in some convention hall somewhere at our annual meeting. The rule that I kind of use is, at the end of the year, we historically have thrown a Christmas party. We invite staff, we invite their significant other. And if we have an event like that with all our staff and all their partners, if I walk into that room and there's someone whose name I don't know, that's when the company's too big. And so our vision is not to expand to 50,000 people. We do understand that we do absolutely fantastic work. Quality is the thing that we've stood by for 35 years, and quality is the thing that we stand by today. And as a result, that phone keeps ringing. And so because we've gotten better, to turn a phrase, our customers have sort of demanded we get bigger to be able to bring that level of service to more and more places. And so we do see growth continuing down the future. We will probably, 35 now? In the next 3 to 5 years, we'll double in size again. That's as big as we would want to get. Our dream has always been kind of that 50-person mark. Based on the quality of work that we do, I don't know that we're going to have the luxury of saying number 50 is it. But next 3 to 5 years, we'll probably approximately double in size. And then the vision is to not grow the firm at such a pace. We can add a few people here and there as the years go by, but really double down on the types of services that we bring. We know that technology is going to have to change our business model, our business, the way that we do work, the services that we provide. And so getting into a phase of not necessarily getting bigger, but really getting better and seeing about where can we look in new markets, where can we expand our partnerships, where can we give people the opportunity to work on things that they're interested in, work on more fascinating projects, give them the opportunity to flex their skill sets. Our objective is by 2030, we're not just recognized as, the best place to work that's a small business or the best place to work, in consulting. By 2030, we're going to be recognized as the company that's the single best place to work in the entire industry. And our true mission with that objective is to show other people and other companies that work does not have to be a sacrifice. Work can be rewarding. Work does not have to be a place you go to pass the time or pay the bills. We're going to rewrite what it means for a person to come to work and what it means for a company to have that covenant with a person when they hire them. And that's our vision.
Great vision. My last question today goes to advice or just your reflections for other DBEs who are growing, like you say, a small business in the industry. You've said several words through our conversation today: great customer service, excellence, being a great place to work, focusing on the customer. But boil all that down into how a small, engineering firm or construction firm gets into this industry, the airport industry or engineering industry, and makes a way to be successful.
Well, I don't know that there's any secret recipe, but I would tell you that there are definitely some key steps. The first one is build those relationships. Join the professional organizations, through Airport Consultants Council, which Connie was a member of for decades. I now run a forum just for small businesses to get their foot in the door, get to know one another, see what the, industry is doing and see what other people are doing. Build those relationships, make them real relationships, not transactional. I mentioned how thankful I was for our clients, and that's because the vast majority of them are passionate about true partnership, not just about having another firm on the roster, having someone else on the team. The other thing that's critical for DBEs is whatever you do, go be the absolute best at it. You want that DBE status to be that thing that kind of starts those conversations. Sometimes it's a way to get your foot in the door. You want to show people that you're about more than the letters, right? You kind of want to redefine what it means to be a DBE or a small business. I think there's been this reputation sometimes that DBEs, or especially small businesses, are in some ways lesser. But the reality is that a small business that can have that client interface, that can have those top of the line experts, that can have a human conversation. Disadvantaged businesses are actually advantaged businesses. Being a small business is an asset, not a detraction. And I encourage businesses to lean into that by being the absolute best at whatever it is they do. If you make those connections, if you are fantastic at what you do, your phone will ring.
Yep. That is the mic drop. Sri, and we jump right into today's conversation. I don't even think we gave your last name, Sri Kumar. And we're going to close out by letting you know, or let the folks know here that listen to this show, how they can find you and, the best way to reach out.
Yeah. I'm definitely not the social media guru. And so my Instagram has 6 posts primarily about, NASA libraries and architecture, things of that nature. But I am on LinkedIn. I've got my email address, I'm sure somewhere, but my LinkedIn profile, which is just Sri Kumar, is very easily findable. And I'm on there probably twice a month or so. I'm trying to make a habit of getting on there more. But please do find me through LinkedIn if you want to connect. Also, if you want to learn more about our company and about our story, we have a blog series on our website. There's a piece that I write about once a month, just about leadership or running an organization, running a team. What does it take to come to work? Where is our society going? Whatever comes into my head. So a good way to get to know the company better is check out our blog series. Check me out on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in connecting, I'm open via email.
Right. Thank you for your time today, and best of success going forward with Connico and moving forward on building on that legacy Connie Gowder created over 30 years ago.
Yeah, we appreciate it.